Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Wait.
I'm always curious about your background, Tom. It's not the first time I've seen it. I need to see more. I need to see more of it.
It's a sound panel. It's like to reduce the noise that otherwise there's a lot of glass and brick walls.
The next time I'm going to come to your office. Might be sooner than you think.
Yeah. You're always welcome here. It is my living room. But it doesn't matter.
You could always just say it's a recording studio.
Yes.
You talked a bit like that. That was kind of, with the soundproofing kind of thing.
Yeah. Then I should find my mic. I've got this fancy mic thingy, which doesn't work.
I saw Martin quickly. I see that Andrew joined, Peter, Todd. Hello, Mr. Jones.
Hello.
What's your sweater, Gene?
It's the New York Islanders National Hockey League team. That's my. If I were to have pick one sport and one team, this would be it.
Aren't you in New Jersey?
Only recently. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and
okay.
one evening I was watching some TV show and they cut to the Islanders winning the Stanley Cup in overtime, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I want to be a part of that. I want in.
I know that Manuel is not going to come. He apologized. I know that Peter is not going to come. He also apologized. I don't remember if Simon and Johan did anything. Did anyone see anything? Usually they're on time.
No, I didn't say anything, but I did something to Slack, but I could talk about around the goals and use cases of the standard.
Just checking. Dirk of the year, cool. So I forgot to send the agenda, Andrew. I saw your message. Sorry about that. But I do have one. I'm going to share it. All right. So, all right. Let's. Oh, Andy's coming. Okay, perfect. Let's get started. First, does anyone have anything to put on the agenda before I pull out mine? I will take this silence by nobody has anything to care about this group anymore. No, just kidding. Okay. What I would like to cover today is a roadmap. I mean, it's kind of quickly. We have a couple of RFCs that we need to make decisions over. We will not make decisions today, but at least review them quickly. And then a few admin tasks, and that's about it. All right. So in terms of roadmap, and I'm sorry Simon is not here because really he was kind of pushing me as well to have a major release soon. Okay, so strategically he wants to make a cut with what PayPal has been doing, and move to something we as a group really own. Okay, so I understand the philosophy. And I think that it's even a better move even. So for that reason, I would like to suggest that we try to do it by May, okay, end of May, to have an updated version. And ideally, it could be version 3. There's a lot of RFCs that are already in. I would love to see some more, and I'm not poking on you, Tom, but I would like to see more data qualities there. And I'm happy to help if you want, so that we have a better understanding of what you as a data quality vendor need. Same thing for you, Andy, a little bit in the observability space. So so that we move that. So my roadmap would be to have something in May, to have all the RFCs in by the next meeting, by our next technical steering committee. Okay, if it's not in, it's not going to be a catastrophe, but that's kind of the meeting we are all together so we can discuss them if there's anything to discuss. And then by May we make a final call of what's in, what needs to be out, and by the end of May, early June, we have version 3 out. I think it's a little bit ambitious. Okay, Toots, what do you guys think? Please have an opinion.
I agree that it's a little ambitious. But I mean, we do have a number of items in there that I think we've already, there's already been a good bit of work done on. I guess I'd want to hear from the rest of the group, like what else do we need to really look at in terms of ODCS? Like where are we seeing other stumbles? Like I mean, just the thing the other day at working group where you pointed out the parameter that had Slack in it, things that should be cleaned up like that seem like good things to get before the next release.
Yeah, I agree. I think my question about like in terms of like what else you want to have in there and like what else you want to cover. Like you mentioned like equality, for example, and make sure we've got things in there covered. That's kind of related to stuff I wanted to talk about in terms of like the goals. Because I think, which we could talk about later if we've got time. So I've got a little thing to share, a document to share. But I think in terms of V3 release, we don't want to make too many more breaking changes. I think if we want to make more breaking changes, it'd be good to make them as part of this release rather than have like a V4 in sort of winter, like in December or in 6 months' time, and V5. We don't want to make too many more breaking releases, I guess. So probably want V3 to be quite a good foundation that we can keep iterating on without breaking it.
I think the next one may be breaking a few things, but I would like to make sure that the following one is not breaking.
Yeah.
So any other opinion? And honestly, the thing is, it's if we miss it by a month, we miss it by a month, okay. But it's still, I would like to have something on the soonish side rather than on the long-term side, because I think right now it slows a little bit. It's weird. What I'm seeing, okay, is that adoption is not going as fast as I want in some areas, but I found some very surprising people that I've talked to maybe once, and then they come out with solutions that are completely based on ODCS. Okay. So the thing is, the more we will have of these solutions, the more difficult it's going to be to say to push any changes, and then we may have some disruption at some point. So that's why I'd like to have a push a little bit, and we start to know each other. We've been working together. I think it's a good time to maybe push a little bit and get something before summer. That's where I am. Okay, and I I implore you to join to join this bandwagon as well.
Perhaps from my perspective, I'm interested in adding a capability to support streaming, event-based data sets or data products. Now, unfortunately, I haven't found time to really look into details what this would mean and imply, but I'm assuming this would need a bit of time to prepare, and most likely this would result in breaking changes. So it's something I'm trying to wrap my head around. So perhaps on short term, making the contract as generic as possible. So not only supporting relational data sets or relational databases.
So there's an effort. I think Andrew is kind of pushing it a little bit about streaming as well. Okay, and because Andrew, without revealing a lot of secrets, right? You're using contracts on Kafka a lot. So I think that's probably something maybe you guys can partner or have a chat or something about that. Okay. I shared my screen and I wanted to that was part of the review as well. I wanted to look through for together is what we have pending, okay, and in a level of maturity, and some of the things that we may have to want to discuss or reject or things like that. Okay, so that's this part of the call now. But if anyone has anything else to talk about the timeline, please bug me. All right. So let's quickly look at what we have in stock here. I hope that everybody's familiar with that. I'm going to paste the URL in the chat to make sure that if I found the chat. Here you are, guys. So that you can follow along if you want. So the first one is pretty mature. It was the first one, so it needs a few things that we need there, and that's actually on Simon. I can actually, I'm going to edit it because we decided to have champions here. And the champion is Simon. And sorry. So the idea here is pretty simple, is to be able to define different server, different environments and different behaviors of the environment based on where you are. So this is where we are right now. Simone has a few things to finish, but the idea is to be able to, based on one contract, what is different, whether you're in production, in a second production environment, or in dev. Okay, because most of the contract should not be different between a dev environment and a production environment. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. Okay. If you've got any question on this one, I would really advise you to talk to Simone. Types. We have looked at types because there was some confusion about the different types we were using. We are looking at different things. This is Manuel. Manuel promised me that he's going to do something for next week. He's unfortunately on a big deployment this week. We are also considering using JSON schemas type. Okay, so that seems to be doing the work for us, and as so that might be something we look for that. If anyone is interested in the typing system, you can go to Manuel. Okay. There's this one. All right. So this one is a little bit more debated, I think. I think the champion is also similar on this one, was to remove this block there to have a clear owner. Okay, but after discussing and based on what we've been discussing with a lot of users, we really need this notion of multiple roles with a history inside. Okay, so that's something that is not going away. We can simplify, or we can find ways to simplify this block. And remember, the minimum block could be, I think I put it somewhere there. No, I didn't. There's a minimum block that we could change it to that is basically, you know, just stakeholder, username, role, owner. Okay, and that defines the minimum information to define an owner. Or we could have an owner and tree as well. Okay, so
I think that this one's being redone entirely. There've been a couple of working group sessions on this. I think a bunch of us have talked Simone out of the recognition that no, you need to know who's actually in charge of the data set. But I think we actually have a community member, Alpesh, who probably everybody's seen in Slack. He's going to take up and contribute a update to stakeholders, and he's suggesting
he did yesterday.
Oh, okay. You already sent a PR? Okay.
Yeah, he proposed this option 2 there. I think he also broke option 1 in the process, so I may have to. He should not have broken option 1, but I look at the diff, the history. But he did submit something. I'm not saying what we wrote is perfect at this stage, but I must admit that none of the suggestions for changing has also been overwhelming. A lot of the debate here was about, okay, we could replace stakeholders because stakeholders implies in some ways that we also have the consumers there, and that's not the original idea. Because the original idea was to list the product, mostly the product team. Because if you start having the users there, it's going, and the consumer is going to be a big mess. But on the other hand, that's also, if you're a smaller team, maybe having the key consumer or the reference consumer or the original consumer you wrote the thing for is also not completely stupid. So that's why the generic term stakeholders, I have not seen someone else suggested something that I personally I'm in love. Okay, we're going to vote over those things, but I don't see as compelling enough reason to change it and to make it then a breaking change.
But A question I would have on this list of stakeholders with free-form roles is who do I contact and reach out to if there's an issue with the data set, data product. I need one contact. Where do I find it, or how do I get to the owner of this data product?
Well, the owner should be clearly identified. Okay, like here you've got Dustin, which is the owner. Okay, so in this scenario, you see. Remember, this is where the way we capture it. This is not the way we display it in an interface. Okay, so in a UI or in any tools, you will be able to see directly who is the current owner and eventually the past, the previous past, etc. In this scenario, we also have a free range of roles. To be honest, not every company, but a lot of companies, and you're in consulting there. But the thing is, you know that a lot of companies have different roles, right? And if you try, and sometimes they have different names for the role. And if you try to push something, then you get pushback because, well, this is not how I picture things, and we're so special, and blah 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 blah. The thing is, within a company, I think the number of roles is probably really defined, but as an organization, I'm not sure we can actually push roles. So that's why I would push back against this one, for example.
Dirk, I think the other thing that came up with the course of the discussion was like the support block and sort of the associated services for communications.
I'm going to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Todd. It's well, maybe you brought it up. I go back to this one. So it's this block. Okay. So it's standard support channels. If you oh, I should have put the old one, I'm sorry. But if you look at the old one, we need a template for these RFCs. They're all different. So if you look at the old one, you had 3 lines, something like product DL, you had product Slack channel, you had product mailing list or whatever, something. Okay, you had 3 or different things like that, which is the inheritance of PayPal. But for example, Martin uses Teams. Okay, so Slack doesn't apply. So the idea was to do something like that, and I put 2 examples there. One would be a minimalist one, and one would be a more complex one. Oh, it's not a lot more complex, but so Dirk, is that something along the line as well? Because the idea is, I need help. Where do I find it?
Yeah, indeed, but ownership may be more than only providing support, right? Like, I don't want to open the discussion right here, right now, but I think having a clear owner could also be a domain, a team, a business unit, or what have you, is something I think of value. Who is responsible or takes ownership? Yeah, support is one aspect to it, but I understand there's clearly overlap and links. But in the previous list of stakeholders with varying roles, we also had timelines. So ownership may change over time. Who is owner today may have not been the owner yesterday. I'm just a bit scared. Scared is not the word, but there's quite some complexity. So just wondering whether there are more straightforward ways. But I'm definitely in favor of adding some support section and channels via which people can reach out to get support.
What we looked at yesterday in the working group, we realized that there was 3 areas where you find people documented the contract. You had the stakeholders, you had the pre-support that was already existing, but it was a little bit messy, and you had the roles. Okay, the role section. So that's where you see 3 list of individuals which user can contact. So is it too much? Should we get all these things more together? I think functionally it's really different because one is really the ownership on the development product team, okay, the stakeholders. One is really the roles that could become something different at some point, okay, because it's not the owner that runs through the role, it's probably someone else. And the support, I think that's the support is also, as you can see, we added the notion of scope. It's not finished, it's not really discussed, ready for prime time. But we've got scopes that we say something like, hey, this is where we can have a chat about it, and this is just where we have an announcement. And the channel could be shared for different data product as well. Okay? So if they're part of the same super domain eventually or whatever. That's how you organize yourself. But the tool allows that. So it's common. I think this one can be going to V3 because okay, there's a little bit more work, but within 2 months, I think this is safe to go to V3. I think this one can be refined and also go to V3 if there's any changes. The tools that are okay, one that is easy. We're not going to have too much debate about it. Is there is currently something called dataset name in the contract, and this is an heritage from PayPal because it's a GCP dataset name. So the decision is to remove it and to put it most likely into a custom field in part of the custom properties. All right, so not asking for a vote now, but if you have other strong feelings, you can express them for sure. But we're trying to remove any of the implementation specific from the contract. All right. The big one which we need to go through. This one has been brought by Andrew, and we're having a working session on April 8th about that. So hold your horses, okay? Not April 1st because in most of Europe I guess it's a day off. It's not in the US because we work hard, but we are going to. We're going to discuss that on April 8th, okay? So basically the idea of that is saying that, okay, table sucks there, column sucks there, okay? And Dirk, you were talking a lot about streaming. That's one of the reasons. It's because this is the very relational oriented data, okay? So there's different approach. So I really invite you to have a look at that and join us on the 8th as well. I hope that within an hour we can wrap this thing up and suggest different options. There's different things, okay? So the idea is to replace column by fields and then everybody's happy, okay? In this scenario, there's a lot of names. There's something called name. There's something called name. And the thing is, okay, in this situation, you know that it's a field name. I get that part. In this situation here, what are we talking about? Because it's not going to be the data set, it's a list of names. So I think we need to have something that is containing those names. So it was suggested to use eventually data objects, okay, and you can type it. Or you can have models, or you can have a list. Another option, which is not described there, is just a list of things. Okay, so you can have your data set, which is composed, let's say, of tables, models, and streams. Okay, or whatever, or topics, or how you want to call them, because each of them will have their own properties. And then it's also extensible this way. So we will have to debate a little bit about the three possibilities. I will add the options there as well. Right. I think this is probably going to be the major one in version 3. All the rest is mostly cosmetic. Yeah, so that's about it. That's I don't know if anyone has questions, comments, ideas. We can drill a little bit down on one of those if you want.
I think it's fine. How would you like us to discuss the RFC? Should we start like Slack threads, I guess?
Okay, so Andrew, you want to discuss a little bit this part, or
No, like how going forward, how should we discuss the RFCs? Is it Slack we're using?
yeah, okay. And would you mind adding that roles in RFC 003 list, inquiring that ISO spec would be a
Yeah,
recommendation?
Andy posted a link with, I didn't want to detour, but you were mentioning about the whole owner thing and how everybody doesn't necessarily like to be conformed. Well, he has an ISO spec for, or looks like it's still in RFC state, but it's metadata roles. So line up to the spec, line up to an ISO spec. It's that's a good way for us to sort of say, hey, yeah, maybe you're very, very special and you have something beyond this, but these are the ones that are recommended by ODCS.
Let's have a look. I'm also all for piggybacking on existing things. Okay, so I've seen that sometimes things from others can be really complex also. So but let's have a look. And if we don't like it, we make the decision of not liking it. That's it. Okay. Thanks, Andy. All right. We'll add it to the thing there. Okay. So okay. So we can so in terms of there's two other things outside of that. If everybody is good with the discussion we had today, or if anyone wants to bring something, that's kind of the time. So let me summarize. We're aiming at having a version 3 for end of May. Okay, we will use the next meetings to try to get all the RFC in a proper state so we can vote for them. Ideally, all the RFCs for the next meeting. The next meeting is going to be on April 16th. Okay. If it's not there, it's not a big drama, but at least we'll know. I think if they're not finished, I think it's not a big drama. But the idea is to have at least a list of the things we would like to work on. Okay, so I would say that probably we know that we want to work on this support for multiple elements. Okay, tables, streams, whatever. This we will have the feature listed, but I'm pretty sure we will not have finished the discussion. But that's anyway what I aim for April 16th to have all the lists there, and then May 21st is where I would like us to vote for the different things. okay? Then, so the different RFCs, and then following that, we can integrate that in the standard and put version 3 out, probably early June. Okay, aggressive, but if we don't do it, we will never do it. Okay? So I think it's. I would really urge the software vendors among us to make sure that they're not really missing anything. Okay, so that's when I'm looking at Peter, Tom, Johan, Andy, and Todd. Try to look at what you could be missing, okay, from there. It doesn't mean that the other one are on vacation for 2 months, okay? But I think it's kind of your moment to shine, and I'm happy to help with anyone trying to see what's missing. So that's it. I'm coming to Europe end of May, beginning of June. I will be in the charming city of Brussels. Yes, indeed, Brussels. Not going to Liège. And Antwerpen. So it's going to be a more Flemish trip this time than last time. And I'm also going to Munich, and so probably in the midst of all of that, I will try to see a few of my German friends as well. So that's just very selfishly. The trip is not set yet, but if you've got any good excuse for me to come your way, that exclude you, Gene. But I'm happy to adapt. On a slight, and the last thing I wanted to talk with you about is on an admin side. Should we enforce, and I'd like you to take a stand a little bit. Should we enforce the rules that if people are missing two meetings in a row without excuse, we kick them out? So far, I think that's what we put in our bylaws. We never enforced it, but some people, one person has never showed up, and some people don't even bother excusing themselves. So I think if we want to have a group, we need to be a little bit firm about that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that, you know, I think some type of enforcement like that is a good idea, because we want to keep the spirit of this serious and, you know, momentum going and progress happening. But just from personal experience, I've had issues getting calendar appointments set up, and while I, you know, had complete intention to participate, it just turned out that I missed 1 or 2 meetings just because there was some issue with calendar appointments. So I want to make sure that we're not excluding you know, people in that kind of scenario where it's some sort of technical or some other unintentional issue. And so maybe if there's, you know, some attempt to figure out what's going on rather than just making it mechanized, maybe then I'm all for it. But I'm concerned about the people who don't know anything and are intent on participating, and they're just not getting updates or something like that.
It's a fair statement. I'll check out with the people there as well. But Gene, on your end, I know you missed. I don't even think you missed 2. But every time you were apologetic. I think Dirk, you missed 1 or 2 as well. I don't remember, but you also apologized. And you know, most of the people here, and most of the people that are not here today, are apologizing. Okay? So we set as a rule, as soon as you tell us that you're not coming, it means that you're still alive. Okay? Otherwise, we just don't even know if you're alive. Okay? So that's kind of.
What's the channel to let you know? Is just like on the Google Calendar sufficient, or?
Well, no, the Google Calendar is a little bit. I wouldn't say. I wouldn't trust this technology. Okay, that's a thing. But on Slack, where
Okay.
on Slack, it's much better. Okay, and something else I is if you have people in your companies, okay, that you trust, okay, like we did for Bart and Peter. We can think about also co-opting them, maybe in the working group first, and then maybe to the TSC, okay. And I don't think we're ready to add more people to the TSC, but I would think that when we are ready, Alpesh is a pretty good candidate. Is showed participation. I don't always agree with this idea, but that's, if I don't agree with everybody here, I'd probably be with Peter alone. Just kidding. But the thing is, we need to yeah, that was kind of where I wanted to go. Okay, so
And I do have someone that I work with that I would like to recommend to join one of the working groups.
awesome. We need your expertise, Gene, because you've got this very unique expertise in, for us at least, on super unstructured thing, on how do we capitalize on this to make sure that we in the future, maybe not version 3, okay, or maybe version 3 as a provision, and then we extend it for unstructured document, okay? Because there's a lot of unstructured document, okay, like images, AI models, all that is completely, and if we are, and as we cannot stuck, as Andrew pointed, we cannot be stuck to the relational data.
Sure. Yeah, and to that point, you know, I think the unstructured world is going to take on increasing significance as AI models get developed and technology gets rolled out, and you know, we realize that there's a vast corpus of untapped knowledge in the unstructured world. So absolutely, I'm thinking with that in mind. I'd like to get. I want to go through the RFC and the first, you know, contract publishing process to get really comfortable with the whole thing, because this is my first sort of go round. Yeah, no, I appreciate the the encouragement, and I will take you up on that. Absolutely.
Awesome.
The working groups are open too. It's anybody can participate. So like that's really where we want anybody from the community to pop in, you know, anybody who's actually interested in a particular topic.
Yeah. So I know I've been involved with the one that Simone leads. That
Yeah,
I think
that's this one. Yeah. No, I've seen you there a few times. Yeah. The only working groups are great. Okay, so it's informal. We have this discussion. It's not recorded. It's fantastic. It's at a set time, which is kind of all convenient for everybody. It's a great work. I think the only consistent person always there is Martin, but
Simon as well. No?
yeah, no, I know that's why you are always there, and this is very valuable for us. So thank you again, Martin.
My pleasure.
Okay, guys. Well, the only person for which is going to be a nightmare, it's Peter. I think it's kind of the timing is really bad, but you can set your own working group over there. Okay,
But
guys.
before we go, I've got the one thing I want to bring up on the agenda around the goals and of the thing I posted in Slack about the goals and the use cases of the standard. So yeah, it'll probably only take like 5-10 minutes, but I was saying I would like to share if you've got time.
Please.
I mean, it's related to a lot of what we've been talking about in this meeting, really, kind of like V3, PRFCs. One of the trouble I have when looking at the RFCs is really understanding like what, like the use case behind them. So for example, servers, I can kind of see where that's coming from, but it's not obvious to me like what that use case enables and whether that aligns with goals we have of the standard as a whole. Which makes it hard for me to feel like I can contribute to the RFC meaningfully. So I've been thinking about this a bit, about how it kind of follows on again as well, apart from the discussion today, it also follows on from the stuff we spoke about the last meeting of this, where we try to formalize like our guiding principles and things like that. All things I think that help us make decisions around the RFCs and help us come up with a roadmap and where we want to go in future, really, not standard. So we think about this a bit, about how to incentivize more contribution as well from everyone in this TSC, but also beyond in the community to contribute to their ideas. So if you don't mind, let me share my screen. I'll come up with like
Oh, sure. I think I'm still
idea for like capturing these use cases, and be good to get some feedback on this. Like any feedback is fine, but like I said, the idea behind it, really, where I'm coming from, is to try and just help us make decisions and help us make sure that when we are make changes to standard, we're doing so knowing like why we're doing it and what the end goal might be. Like, how does it support the end goals? So let me share my screen. Just one sec. So thinking on a document like this might be helpful, and it could be in GitHub, doesn't really matter. But really helping us, like, so this is why I think we should do this, what I spoke about. The goals of a project, which I can't with these three, I don't know if they're correct, but for discussion, don't talk about them now, but like having some goals of project. We've got our values already agreed. And then user stories. But reason why I've kind of done the user stories like this responses, because we've got such a broad range of experiences in the TSC in particular. But a lot of them are outside my personal experience. So having something described here, so I can easily understand, like, okay, you talk about servers and this is why, you talk about streaming and this is why, you're talking about data quality and this is why, like, what is it that you want to get out of the standard? And that's the kind of logic behind the RFCs that you're promoting or the arguments making against certain RFCs. Like, how does that feed in? No bit of background, I think, will help that discussions. So that's what I had really. But yeah, the idea is to try and help make decisions, really helps move faster by just having more context on what we're trying to achieve with the standard.
So I love the idea of user stories. Okay, I use user stories all the time. Do you think we should prefix all the RFCs by a user story? Is that a bit the idea?
I think it'd help with help looking at a RFC and having back context would be helpful, I think. So for me, my background, I'm like looking at servers, I'm like, well, I don't really understand. I mean, it's fine for there to be lots of things with contracts I'm never going to use personally, that's kind of fine. But it would be nice to know the background of the reasoning behind some of the RFCs so that we can have a more meaningful discussion about whether it's right for the standard in the short and long term.
I think it's a good idea. I like that. The goals. So first we have Bitol.io as well. Okay, so we can control that. I have the admin password to it. I think I can add all the users. Otherwise, that's good to go through the Linux Foundation. Unfortunately, it's not an easy WordPress. They have a lot of templates and things like that. So, but I'm happy to share that if you want to edit or do anything like that when we discuss this. The only my goal and when I approach the Linux Foundation was that we would not limit ourselves to data contracts. Okay, I have ambition beyond just data contract for Bitol. I don't want to mix the message too much right now, so that's why I didn't bring it up too much. But that was my ambition.
Yeah, so I looked at the charter again and kind of saw it hinted at there, the right ambition. I guess like a question to like everyone else on the call, like in terms of like problems I described, in terms of like helping us make decisions around UFCs, is that something you see as a problem or not?
Yeah, for me, I think it could help. I also feel that say there is something missing in terms of my context to know like how should I respond. Like there's lots of comments I could make on certain proposals, but I'm not sure I have the full context to know like, oh, should I steer it left or right, or like I'm not sure. Like user stories could be a very good way on that if they help, let's say, as you're reviewing an RFC to know like, oh, but actually this is out of scope, or and this is where I was thinking earlier when we were reviewing those. It would make sense if you have some kind of test cases. I was thinking in terms of the types when we were using the types, like there's currently like, oh, shouldn't be only database, should also be Kafka or some other systems. Well, then it wouldn't be, I'm not sure if we can formulate that as user stories, but in my head, it was kind of test cases like, oh, I have a whatever database, like a Snowflake database, I have this schema in it, and I want to check it with this contract. So that you can then see how are the mappings being made and like how would that concretely work. And then the same, for instance, like how would we do it if there's a Kafka topic that needs to be managed in a contract as well, that you kind of list what all has to be mapped onto that contract and that you can check like, can we do it? And I think this is something very similar, but on a bit higher level. So yes, so in other words, I'm definitely supportive of any initiative that gives extra context and helps drive the decisions and bring everyone on the same page so that we can all understand like why we're adopting certain aspects and others not.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think this case could be quite a good idea. I think also I like the word you use, like scope, like the scope of project as well, and you kind of repeated JG as well. Like, what do we want data contract standard to be good for and meet for use cases for, and what do we think is outside of scope? And we've spoken before about having the contract sensible, so we can still meet their needs, but it won't be part of the standard for whatever reasons we decide it shouldn't be part in scope for standard. So I think controlling scope is another objective with these ideas around user story test cases or whatever other ideas you might have.
Do you want to draft something like that and we vote on it? And
If we do an RFC 0, that's a template. I mean, I think the idea of having, I was also thinking test cases would be good and having scope defined. And I mean, if we tie that up to the contributing file and just say, look, you must have a complete RFC before you send a PR for it to be voted on by TSC. I mean, that would, to me, make sense. I mean, we can put in some examples of, hey, how do you have a well-justified, researched, recommendation?
Yeah, I think we should have that as well, and we should document like the process more clearly, because I think and that discussion happens whether it's in GitHub or Slack or whether we expect to happen not in PR. Because I think last time we spoke about some of them being in PRs, but we maybe merging PRs as well. So yeah, I think the RFCs should have more context in them than they do at the moment.
Andrew, I'm glad to team up with you on putting a template RFC out there.
Yeah, we could do that. That'd be great. Thank you.
Awesome. I like that.
Yeah, if there's no more comments now on this kind of document ideas, what I'll do, I'll share it in Slack for people who missed it and just reshare like the why, just make up context. And we can continue discussion in Slack, I think. But on the short term, yeah, a template for RFCs I think would be good. And yeah, I can look at that.
I should. Can you share that with us, Andrew, as well? Because it's true that I was looking at the website and our guiding values, which are pretty strong, and the principles which are really strong, and a lot of people worked on that. It's not on our website. So let me catch on this error there, and I will add that as well.
Yeah, I didn't want. Website's interesting. I didn't want to talk about it too much today, but another idea in the back of my mind is like, I think one of the goals is really to like help increase awareness and adoption of data contracts, and I think it's into that in the charter as well. So in terms of like how we do that, I might be thinking about how we use the website more effectively. You mentioned other people adopting the standard. How can we shout about that and have maybe a blog on the website or something, maybe, or some kind of list of adopters or something. That can help, raise awareness of standard and also drive more adoption, hopefully. I think that's another area we need to look at, and might be a good place for a working group for people interested in driving adoption.
There's definitely, I said I would do more around communication, and I've not done much. Okay, so that's typically something that would fall under this premise. I'm not saying I should be the only one alone, but I think we have a comms channel on Slack which I created and did not do much with it. So yeah, it's a good reminder. Thanks, Andrew. All right, guys. Thanks a bunch for joining. Let's push it for the next 2 months, and we'll have even a better standard. Right?
Thanks,
Right.
everyone.
And remember, HTML they are at 5.0. Okay, so we're just tackling 3. Okay, so it's okay if we do a few mistakes still. Have a great rest of your day. Short for some, a great night for some other. Okay, bye bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.